So we've got the Jambo Mason podcast today. We're going to be doing a preview of NXT and Summerslam and discussing some topics around WWE just now. The main one being some of the released superstars that have happened over the past few weeks and months, probably. Sort of a combination of a period of time, to be honest. We are joined by Kyle Watt. First of all, who was on the last one where we done the WrestleMania one. How are you, Kyle, mate?
Not too bad. How you getting on?
Aye, all good, mate, all good. And we're also joined by Stu, who is also on our WrestleMania show as well. How are you, Stu, mate?
Alright, bit tender, but we'll get there.
Tender. Stu was on the beers last night, so he's a bit struggles today.
Never learned.
Never learn. So as always, if you've got anything you want to add into the chat, let us know. We will be going through all the match cards for NXT and for SummerSlam and giving our thoughts on the matches, who we think is going to win, and a wee bit of what we think the build-up. There is still a week to go till SummerSlam as well, so some of that could change. There could be some other matches that could get added to that as well. So just let us know in the chat what your thoughts are. If you've got any thoughts on the matches or just the WWE in general, then please do let us know. But we will kick off first of all. We are going to look at some of the wrestlers that have been released. So over probably, am I right in saying maybe a year? Has it been as long as that? Or is it not quite as long as that? I'm not too sure when it first started, but it's definitely been over a bit of a period of time now. There's been a lot of different sort of superstars. I've been on a website that's saying it's 54 that's been released, and that's obviously across WWE, NXT, and what's the other brand called again? That
NXT UK, is it, or 205
NXT UK
Live?
and 205. That's the one I was thinking of. 205 Live. So you've got people like Bray Wyatt, Ric Flair, Bronson Reed, Mercedes Martinez, Braun Strowman, all people like this. So Kyle, what's your thoughts on the releases and what that could do for WWE, do you think?
I mean, it was bound to happen, wasn't it? Because I think the whole thing everyone's been saying for ages is that WWE have just been stockpiling wrestlers for the longest time, and their roster's too big. They don't know what to do with people. So I think it's probably about time this has happened. Again, not taking the blame off WWE, because I think a lot of people have looked at this negatively. It makes sense that they've done it, but it's still, shite for them in the first place that they've actually stockpiled all these great talent, wasted them, and then released them. But some of the names that have been released are wild. Like, there's some big names. Like, the fact that they got Strowman is wild. That, I'm assuming that's just out of how much he was getting paid. He was on like $1 million a year, but that's wild.
Yes, Stu, I think we've got different opinions on Braun Strowman, but what do you think? Do you think this will, and obviously Kyle said there about stockpiling, do you think this will change the structure going forward to WWE, or do you think this is, do you think this was COVID related that they're doing this, or do you think it is more down to what Kyle's saying in terms of it's more about how they've built a business going forward like previously?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've done this for years, like Kyle said, so whether they'll learn their lesson or not, I don't know. But yeah, it's just there's far too many guys, and although they've got plenty of shows on, and I guess it was more they've not toured much last year as well, so a lot of these guys weren't even probably in the house shows, so never mind actually making it onto TV. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit. I think they will just continue to do what they do, to be honest. I think it's just because they used to release people once a year essentially. So everyone got released at once, but last year there's been like 4, 5, 6 of these sort of small releases. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's Vince McMahon, so I mean, I don't know how much it could be money related because the guy's a multi-billionaire probably. So
yeah, I feel like it's a company not still making money as well, which is makes it more surprising.
Yeah, I think the big rumours that people have been talking about is they're kind of fixing up the company to sell it, so they're trying to get rid of as much outgoings as possible, so that the company's is worth as much money as possible, which would make sense. And there's part of me that hopes it's that, and it's not just they've gone crazy and just try to get rid of everyone, but it makes sense. And see some of the names, right? See when you look at the list, right? There's people like Tino Sabatelli who got released. Like, why were they paying him a wage? Like, he wasn't doing anything. I mean, there's people like that. So yeah, it does kind of make sense.
Yeah, I think what surprised me when I look at some of the names, so I mean, if I go down some of them, I mean, you've got people like Billy Kay, Andrade, Peyton Royce. I mean, some of these were pretty good. Samoa Joe, which was I found very, very strange because I mean, they released something and did they not sign him like the next day or the same day or something like that back on NXT? But yeah, but, I mean, there was people. There was one that came to mind that was just. Was it Bronson? No, let me check. The boy that was in NXT. I mean, he had a title. Was it not?
Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed, that was it.
Bronson Reed, yeah.
Yeah, Bronson Reed. He had a title about 2 weeks ago, and he's now released. I didn't actually know. It was only when I was looking at this today when I was trying to do a bit of research for the people that had been released and stuff, and I didn't actually realise he'd been released. Because I mean, I watched NXT that week, but was he part of the group then? Was it not like on Smackdown the Friday night? It was halfway through the show, and they just cut all these people apparently.
Yeah. The word on that was that they're revamping NXT, and they don't want anyone over the age of 30 or like under like a certain height. So they're trying to make sure, like they're trying to turn it back into what like OVW used to be back in the day with like your John Cena's and Batistas and Lesnar's and all that. So like all these wee indie guys that are like 35, and don't have as big a future in wrestling, they're just getting rid of. That's why Bobby Fish is gone, which is which is wild. I think Bronson kind of falls into that because he's been around for years in the indies.
He was another one that I kind of looked at, and again, I didn't actually realise he'd been released because I feel like I watched him about 2 weeks ago in a storyline with the I can't remember who it was. I was going to say I feel like he was definitely on a show about 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I just feel like
he's on SmackDown as well. So it's weird. Looked like they were going to push him to the main roster, and then gone.
So I just feel like. Do you feel like, from my point of view, just now I think there's a lack of planning. Do you think it's a lack of planning, or do you think that was always the case that they were going to cut this person? That was like how they were going to cut them. But I just don't think you would have somebody on the show and then cut them a week later. I just don't think that makes sense. Do you think that it's planned or not? What do you think, Stu?
I was just saying, Kyle, when we're on mute there, when you're setting up, but it's a total lack of direction in WWE at the minute. But it's been that way for a long time now, I think. So going back to the point of selling it, I think that would be probably a good thing going forward. But I don't know. I feel bad for Triple H as well. Like, he's built NXT brilliantly, in my opinion, but they pinch guys to the main roster, do nothing with them, and now they're obviously cutting a lot of them. So,
and that's the thing.
They're probably a bit tied at the minute.
Yeah, I mean,
does NXT now, so.
100%. I mean, you look at some of the people that came up from NXT onto the main roster, and you think some of them were brilliant in NXT, weren't they? And I mean, one of the people we're going to come on to, and we'll speak more about him later on, is Karrion Kross, which I just don't understand that whole situation that's going on just now with. He's NXT champion, he's got a storyline there, but he's also just turning up on, is it Raw? I can't remember which show it is, but he's turning up doing like a mid-card wrestling without, Scarlett Bordeaux, and I don't know, it's just a weird situation, but I mean, when you've got people like doing that sort of thing, you're like, why are they cutting people when they've got like this storyline that I personally don't think is working, and yet they're releasing people like Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, who are potentially just down to, like you said, Kyle, it's potentially down to money that they're cutting these people, because they're obviously on a lot of money, but it just doesn't make sense that releasing some of these people and then you've got other people that's doing like 2 different shows and not that great, to be honest, in my opinion.
Yeah, money must have been some extent, because some of the guys that are still there, they would have been first in line to go out the door ahead of some that have been for me.
Definitely.
It's probably going to be on the SummerSlam card, so I can moan about that later.
And Kyle, you obviously mentioned there about them potentially selling it. Could you see, and this is more a wishful thinking, I don't know if this will happen, but if they were to sell, would you see AEW potentially buying them or not?
You never know. Again, Tony Khan and his big da have got, 8 times the amount of money of Vince McMahon does, so it depends how much of that inheritance that he's getting early. You never know. But God knows, I know there's been lots of talk about like big companies like Disney and like NBC and all that sort of stuff, like them coming in and buying them, which you never know, but they would definitely just use it as like a video library and probably patch the rest of it. So that could be the end of the RB if they do that, but you never know. But I think It depends, because I know that there's been talk coming out recently from like reports from inside RB, and you never know how much to believe. But there's talks that there's a lot of heat on Triple H for what they see as a failure of NXT, which I think is daft, because the whole point of NXT is to be there to like pass guys up to the main roster, which is done. But I think the whole AEW stuff, and AEW was like double the ratings and all that of it, they're kind of gone off him. So they've kind of changed their mind on like him being like the heir to it, and we already know that he's never going to give the company to Shane after how they got him back in the day, and Stephanie and Triple H obviously. So it's like a whole thing. So I feel like he just wants to sell up, get his fortune, and then pass it down to his kids potentially. But only time will tell with that stuff.
Yeah, I think it would probably be quite hard if they'd done that with AEW as well. Because I mean, they've already got shows, haven't they, like weekly and pay-per-views. So to bring that on, do you think that'd be too much to do, or?
Probably.
Yeah.
But if it's making money, then why not? I guess. So,
Aye.
but yeah, I think it's harsh to compare AEW to NXT, especially because you have to remember NXT is technically a second brand. It's like the championship to the Premier League sort of thing.
Aye.
Even though most times I prefer NXT and the takeovers are better than their actual pay-per-views. So I think it's a bit harsh to compare AEW to it, but people obviously do it in the ratings. And
Is that because it used to be on the same night, wasn't it?
yeah, I think it was mainly down to that, yeah. But again, I bet you people watched both. It was just people maybe watched AEW live and then they went back and watched NXT another time, It's probably more about live ratings than actual how many people watched it in total, So, yeah, I don't know. It would be a lot to take on for sure. I mean, whoever buys it, it's going to be a slow process either way, in terms of buying it over. And I'm guessing there'll be more cuts when that happens, if that happens, That tends to happen as well. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, interesting.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to the NXT part. So you'll see just now on the screen, this is the match card. I done the opposite to last time because you told me that it was probably the wrong way around. So I flipped it this time. So hopefully we've got main event at the bottom. We'll work our way down instead of up the way. So this is NXT Takeover 36, which is on the Sunday, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the opposite way around this time, isn't it? Usually we'd have the SummerSlam on the Sunday and the NXT on the Saturday, but they flipped them around. Does anyone know the reason for that? Just off the cuff? No. No.
As far as I'm aware, Vegas wanted SummerSlam on the Sunday or a Saturday, sorry, because Vegas tourism, all that stuff.
Right, okay.
I think that's the reason, but I don't know why they put Takeover on the Sunday. They could have done it on the Friday.
That's true. I suppose I've got another show that's usually on Friday though, so.
That's true, exactly. Smackdown.
So it's maybe just to try and keep stuff in line, but I wasn't sure why that was. But this is the match card. So we've got, first of all, the $1 Million Championship, LA Knight versus Cameron Grimes. What's your thoughts on that match, Kyle?
I mean, I think it'll be interesting. It's quite a good storyline. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but I think bringing in Ted DiBiase and doing the whole $1 million thing made a lot of sense after the whole Grimes becoming the millionaire and all that stuff. LA Knight is probably the perfect fit for that sort of story as well, because I haven't watched him as Eli Drake. He's good. He fits that persona. So I think the match itself will be all right. I mean, I'm not expecting much from it. I love Cameron Grimes, but in ring LA Knight's a bit. He's just a wrestler for me. But am I right in saying the sort of stipulation is that Knight becomes, Ted DiBiase becomes Knight's butler if he loses.
Is it?
Because why wouldn't you have a stupid stipulation like that? So I guess it would make sense if Grimes loses going to this match, and they'd have some funny stuff off the back of it. I don't know, but we'll see. But this should be an alright match.
What's your thoughts on it, Stu?
I'm kind of bored of how long it's dragged out now because we've seen them fight a couple of times now, but overall it has been quite an enjoyable sort of feud. But I think Grimes has to win. Just his stock's going to have plummeted so much if he loses 3 times to him on the big stage, But LA Knight did need something as well, they brought him in. I think he was in that multi-match last time and they did all right in that. But yeah, I think Grimes has to win it. I don't know where it goes either way after, depending on who loses, But I think the Butler stuff Grimes in particular, it's just got a bit stale, so I'm kind of glad they're moving off. I presume he's not going to be the butler, even if he loses, or is he going to have two butlers? Maybe, I don't know.
Where did it all come about? Because I remember watching, like, obviously they had the previous matches, and I might be wrong here, but I feel like LA Knight, when he got his first match in NXT, did he not lose his first match?
No, I think his first pay-per-view match, yeah.
His first pay-per-view match. I'm pretty sure it was a bigger match, and he kind of he lost that match, and then he went off into the Cameron Grimes storyline. But I feel like the whole, like, where did the Butler thing come out of? Was that like part of a match, or?
Yeah, Great American Bash, I think, was it?
Oh, was that what it was?
I think that's what it was called. There was a special, like,
there was.
where Cole and Riley had their second match as well. So
right, okay.
On that one.
Aye.
So the stipulation was when he lost, he became the Butler. So.
Yeah, I think I can agree with you, though. Like, this is probably one that I'm not that looking forward to, if I'm honest. I feel like it has dragged on a wee bit, and I don't know. I just don't know where it goes from there. And Cameron Grimes' kind of persona. I mean, like you're saying, Kyle, I think the two of them actually fit the storyline quite well. I just don't know where it goes, though. That's the issue. Like,
yeah.
I don't see any of them being like going for like NXT Championship. I don't see that level. Potentially, what's the one down for that? The one North American, potentially that. But even then, I probably don't see even that from my point of view. But yeah, I just don't know where that match goes, if I'm honest.
I mean, that is essentially replacing an NXT North American title match being on that card to an extent, unless they do add it this week. But
yeah,
I'm really hoping that like this whole $1 million like title like is just like what it was back in the day. It doesn't actually get defended. Like, I hope after this, it's just like whoever has it. So like LA Knight, that's just his thing. He cuts a bit with it. Like, he never defends it because they've got too many titles now. If they're only having 5 matches on a card, they can't have that plus the North American and all the other titles.
Definitely. It would be a challenge, wouldn't it? And so we'll come on to the next match, which is probably, in my opinion, one of the biggest matches of the card, if I'm honest. I think Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole in a 2 out of 3 falls match. There's been also a big build-up with this match, and now potentially the end of it. I don't know if it is. You never know with WWE, but what's your thoughts on this match, Kyle?
Well, the match itself will be good because it's Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. Potentially Adam Cole's last match in WWE. But the 2 out of 3 falls match, I hate. Like, it's like the whole like 3 stages of hell thing that they did back in the day. Because like the final stipulation is what, the steel cage, right? So if they don't do that, then it's going to be a bit silly. There's going to be a steel cage there for no reason. So like, in my opinion, when I watch it, I'm like, so these first 2 falls don't matter. It's going to be 1 each. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
That takes it away. It's like, it's the same to me as like an Iron Man match or something like that. They're quite stale early on. Unless you do them really, really well. But again, either way, it should be fun to watch. I'm assuming it's going to go to all 3 falls. They're going to have the cage match to end after the street fight, and it's going to be just messy. Depending on who wins, you'll find out if Adam Cole's staying, I guess, because I can't imagine him winning if he's going to be boosting to AEW in a few weeks.
I feel like I might have missed something here, so I didn't realise the 2 out of 3 falls was 3 different, because usually when it's 2 out of 3 falls, it's just like, as it says, 2 out of 3 falls, but is it 3 separate stipulations they're having then?
Yeah.
So what are they? Do we know?
First match is just straight up.
Yeah, okay.
Street fight and then cage.
Oh, really? Well, yep. I didn't realise that.
They've done that before, though. They have done that before, where there's been stipulations involved in it. And that tends to be more obvious that it's going to go to 3 falls,
They're not going to have a cage hanging there for no reason.
Probably 95% of 2 out of 3 falls matches is went to 3 falls anyway, but...
that's right,
they could have just stuck them in a cage and had the 1 fall, but...
that's true. That is true. Because, I mean, if you stick that the other way around, there's more chance of it not going to 3 falls, but like you say, they're not going to have a cage hanging there just for the sake of a cage and no use, are they?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll keep an eye out for the cage at the start. If it's not there, we'll know.
So what's your... Anyway.
Maybe O'Reilly will just run through him in 2 falls if he's going.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe.
5 minutes. See you later. Thanks for your
That's the thing, though. It adds a sort of different dimension to the match, because we all know about the whole contract situation with Adam Cole. So do you think that this could be the last thing, and he goes and I mean, it's unlikely they're going to send him off in a high, aren't they? Or do you think this is kind of what Jinx do?
I'm hoping he stays because he's class, but I just don't know if he'll fit in the main roster. And to an extent, he's probably had his time at NXT. You know, what more can he do on NXT really? He's won it all, and now obviously he's on his own as well. And this will be the end of another big feud for him. You know, so I don't know where they go with him next, regardless. So
he's 60s. I was going to say he's 60s Twitch streaming. That's what.
But I think the next move for him would be the main roster after this if he doesn't leave. But again, he's probably looked at other guys just went up and been like, you just become a forgotten man almost, you know. So I'd like to think they wouldn't waste a talent like Adam Cole, but
yeah, you'd hope not.
They've done it with plenty others, you know. So
definitely,
I hope he doesn't go. But then obviously his wife or just girlfriend, but Britt Baker's obviously AEW, so that could be a lure for them, because I'm guessing they probably don't see each other too much if they're both on the road and stuff. So
yeah, that's a good point.
They could be on the road together if he did move. So
very true.
Yeah, it adds another dimension for sure.
Yeah, Kyle, do you think the sway of like a Raw or a Smackdown contract could keep him, or do you think if he was to go AEW, it'd go in quite high on a card?
I think that's the thing. Like, he in his head, he'll surely know that if he goes to AEW, he'll be a top guy. Like, because one, it's all his pals, but two, he's obviously he's got that star sort of appeal. WWE aren't probably ever going to use him like that. That's the issue. Like, see if he was like 3 inches taller, he'd be WWE champion by now. But they've obviously got this thing about everyone has to be big and all this. Like, Finn Balor was obviously going to be like one of the top guys for a while, and then they've sort of went, quiet on him. It's a similar sort of thing. So I feel like if he's smart, he'll look at it and go, don't really want to. That's not really enticing me as much as going to AEW. Hopefully, he is, currently in negotiations and try to get as much money out of each party as possible, so that he can do that. But we'll see. The only thing is, though, if he goes to AEW, they will then have to figure out how they revive him because he died on being the Elite. So that'll be quite interesting to see how they book around that. The ghost of Adam Cole coming back.
Well, there's rumours that they could put him in charge of the Dark Order. I don't watch enough of it to know what's going on with them, but
they'll resurrect him. That makes sense.
Yeah, there was rumours about that. So I think he does suit being like in a stable as well, rather than being on his own.
Yeah, I think that comes down to like his one. Like, I know he's not that small. Like, he's not a small guy, but like he's also not that intimidating either. Like, you'll have like small guys like Davey Richards or whatever, like who like look like they could kick your ass, right? Adam Cole, he just looks like a pretty boy sort of thing. Like, it's not really threatening. So like, see, when he has a faction like Undisputed Era, when you've got like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong who could actually like go for it, it kind of works. So yeah, that would make sense if they had something like the Dark Order or something similar.
I tried to be look up there. He's 5'11", so I'm struggling. I'm never making it in WWE if I ever wanted to.
Oh, mate, he's the same height as me. But I mean,
he's just not 6'10".
Although to be fair, I've met some wrestlers who say they're taller than they are, so he could be shorter than that.
I thought I'd quickly check that. Okay, we'll move on to the next match, which is the NXT Women's Champions match. Raquel Gonzalez versus Dakota Kai. I feel like the last time when we had that, I probably didn't even know who Raquel Gonzalez was, which is a bit embarrassing, but now I'm much more aware. So obviously recently they were a sort of stable partnership, and they cut the sort of promo. I think was it this week on the show? No, the week before, wasn't it? And to be honest, you could kind of see it when the promo was coming. Like, it was the whole, like, you can kind of tell where the camera angles, the way the camera was, and then Dakota Kai comes out of nowhere and kind of attacks Raquel Gomez, and then Gonzalez on, and then the next week, obviously Dakota Kai, which I don't really understand. I feel like they said they cancelled a match, didn't they, or they cancelled an opponent, and Dakota Kai came in and was the opponent, and then Raquel Gonzalez came at the end and tried to attack her. But Stu, what's your take on this match, mate?
I mean, it was a long time coming to turn. I mean, I think they were quite clever with it, because there was like Dakota Kai was always giving her sort of dirty looks the last few weeks leading up to that promo as well, as if like a jealousy sort of look potentially. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see Dakota Kai win it. I think both of them in general have been vastly improved over the last year. I wasn't really that keen on either of them when they first appeared, but I think over the last year they've both improved in the ring and stuff. So I think it's too short a reign for Raquel to drop it, but I don't think it'll be the last match they have regardless. I think it'll be one of these that gets drawn out for a little bit. Also, the women's roster there's so much talent there, that they need to probably just churn out match after match with different people rather than having the same storyline. But yeah, I think Raquel will win, but I'm hoping Dakota Kai pulls off some sort of proper heel dirty win. That potentially, she's not going to win clean, Dakota Kai, if she does, put it that way. But yeah, I'm kind of glad they've went down this route.
Yeah, I think, and again, you kind of touched on it. Really, I don't know what you think, Kyle, but Raquel Gonzalez not really had the belt for that long. Again, it's another one where like, if this person loses, what's next for them? And Stu, you touched on it there. You're probably right. It's probably another match against each other. If we're honest, they'll probably try and drag this out a bit longer. I don't think this is a one pay-per-view event. But give us your take on the match, and then what do you think is going to happen after this match, Kyle?
I mean, I think it'll be a good match because it's one of those ones. See, with like, women's wrestling, like, you don't get as much of, the whole size difference stuff that you get with sort of a lot of male wrestling, because you'll get like your big massive heavyweights against kind of like your smaller guys, and you'll have that dynamic. So it's good to kind of get that with like Raquel being the big sort of powerhouse sort of thing that kind of like Rhea Ripley was when she was in NXT.
Yeah.
And Dakota Kai is obviously wee, so she'll get thrown about and battered. But yeah, like you said, I don't think Raquel will lose the title anytime soon. Unless they've got other plans for Raquel, which you never know. But I think, ironically, the women's roster is the one part of WWE that they've not got rid of like half their roster on.
Yeah, it's still very strong, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think she'll got plenty of time in NXT, considering how much talent they've got up on the main roster. So yeah, I think that reign will go on for a while, and eventually they'll find someone, they'll bring in someone who'll take her on. But who that is just now, I don't know. But yeah, I think Dakota doesn't need the belt. Like, she's doing fine. Stuff she's got going on just now will be fine for her. So yeah, I think Raquel retains.
Yes, I think. I mean, you just touched on it there, but I think the main roster's like so strong, isn't it? I mean, you've got so many people up there that I just can't see Raquel Gomez getting pushed up this early. So I think, like you say, I think that feud will probably go on for a wee while. But I didn't actually think about the sort of the like difference between male to female and the sort of size thing, but you can tell between the two, can't you? It's massive. So we'll come on to the next match, which this is one I've not seen as much of, but I think it's purely because it's been built up as a NXT UK match, and then I feel like it's probably built up that much that they're like, actually, this is probably too big for NXT UK, and if we're going to put this onto the main card. So it's NXT UK champion Walter versus Ilja Dragunov, and I believe this is the second match of the two. What's your take on that, Kyle? I just seen a comment there. Somebody said Samoa Joe suck my toe. Out the blue.
Nice feet fetish.
So yeah, this match is gonna be unreal. Like, this is the match I'm looking forward to the most. Like, having watched like their stuff from back in like WXW and all that sort of stuff, like Walter and Ilya together is just it's the perfect match. Obviously they had their first match in NXT, whenever that was. It was a long time ago, considering there were still crowds back then, and that was unreal. I think that was like a 5-star match or something like that from Meltzer, and yeah, it was quality. And I think we've been wanting this match for a long time. Obviously, it was meant to happen on that NXT UK episode, but I think Walter broke his hand or something like that, or hurt his hand or something, which is kind of good because now it's removed to NXT, on that a takeover, which is much better than in BT Sports Studios, with 3 people standing next to where Guy Lineker normally presents the football. So yeah, I think that'll be a good match. It'll be what you expect. I don't know if they would do a title change. Like, I don't think they would. I wouldn't mind Ilya as champion, but I think Walter's got much more time to go. So yeah, I think it'll be a decent match. Walter will retain, and yeah, but you'll get what you expect with that match.
I mean, Walter's been, I don't actually know what the stats are, but he's been champion for a very, very long time. So what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think, Stu? Do you think Walter retains, or do you think we have a change in time?
His time's going to be up, but he just keeps winning, obviously. But I don't think he's actually defended the title that many times in this. What is it, 570-day reign or something?
I think he was, because I think during COVID they had a bit of break, didn't they? And he was obviously during that time, which is extended a bit. I think.
But I don't know if it's just the depth they've got on the roster, because also Pete Dunne was champion for a long, long time as well, and I think Tyler Bate had a decent enough run at it as well. I think it's more they don't really have someone fit in to take over as champion, but I do think Ilya could be the one to do it. Yeah, I guess it's, again, what do you do with Walter if he drops the belt? Does he move to America full time, or yeah, I don't know, but I think it's more. I mean, Walter's obviously talented enough as well, but I do think the title changes don't happen often because there's just not quality and depth for that division.
I suppose you probably touched like
maybe I'm wrong because I don't watch NXT UK, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm the same. To be fair,
get from it,
Yeah. To be fair, what's Walter's group called again? Imperium, because the two boys, the two tag team, they're sort of in NXT like more often, aren't they? So I suppose if he was to drop in, like you said, I'm not as clued up on NXT UK as I am the other shows, but if he was to drop it, then maybe Imperium become more of a thing on NXT, because I mean they kind of kick a bit on their own. They had that boy, didn't they, for a wee bit, and then they ended up attacking him. But maybe they do become more of a thing on that show, and that's how they kind of keep Walter's stock a bit higher. But I said I don't.
I guess just because of his size and stuff. I guess even if he did move to America full time, there's not really a lot of guys there that would kind of fit, if that makes sense. I'd love to see him against Samoa Joe though, which if Joe wins the title, then that could be, because you're not going to throw him into mid card. He's going to be at the high end of the card if he does move full time. You can't have him going completely North American. He's probably above that.
Do you see that happening, Kyle? Do you think if he drops title, do you think he could come across to NXT and then be the next NXT champion?
Potentially. I mean, that's, by the sounds of things, that's what they want. They want big guys who look like legitimate threats. So he might be right up their street. I don't know if that's something like Vince would look at him and go, yeah, that's who I want. Only issue with him when it comes to Derby is obviously he's not in pristine washboard ab shape, which they like. He's just a big brute. So it depends what they want, I guess. But yeah, I could see him doing bits in the NXT roster. Also, just to let you know, it's 863 days as of today he's held the title. It was the 5th of April 2019 he won the belt.
Gee whiz.
He's only
500 out there.
He's only defended it 10 times in that time though.
Yeah, so every 3 months essentially.
But I mean, you could see him potentially going, they could push it to like 1,000 days and make it like that whole a big thing, but you never know. Although, speaking about releases earlier, I've got a feeling that Nick Khan, who's obviously been doing the releases, hasn't noticed that NXT UK exists. Because if he had, there's a lot of absolute jobby wrestlers that would be gone by now.
I guess they're maybe not getting paid too much, but
either that or UK employment law is a bit more tricky to get around. Who knows?
Yeah,
possibly.
They're maybe on furlough.
Okay, well, we're coming to the next match, and for me, this is probably my favourite match for this card. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly's probably up there, but this one I'm looking forward to. I think Samoa Joe obviously was I don't really understand what's happened with Samoa Joe, to be honest, because I feel like he was like main card pretty big. I feel like he maybe got an injury and then done all the commentary, got released almost and then pushed into NXT. And I think me and Stu, I think we actually had a conversation that this was kind of going to happen. That the whole kind of situation where he's going down to NXT, he's going to be this sort of security almost of NXT, and then he will become a wrestler. I mean, it lasted 2-3 weeks or something like that before he has, but so they didn't drag that out, which normally they do. So it's a surprise. But this is probably what I'm looking forward to. Again, I'm a bit struggling to understand where this is going. The situation with Karrion Kross, I don't understand. Like the whole going up to the main roster without Scarlett Bordeaux, his entrance is nowhere near good enough in comparison to what's normal like, which I think that's one of the biggest things that I enjoy about Karrion Kross' entrance, and the whole like kind of him and Scarlett situation they've gone on. And then he goes up and he loses one week, he's winning the next week, and it just seems to be, I don't know, I've heard rumours that it's like a punishment for background stuff. I don't know if that's true or not, but I wouldn't like to see Samoa Joe come back and this is like he starts on a loss almost. So Stu, what do you think? What do you think of this match? Where do you see it going, and where do you see these two going after it?
I mean, it was always going to happen, because what a boring storyline it would be if you join your security and then don't get involved. You know, like it would have been daft to keep that going. But I think Cross is main roster bound, so for me, Joe's got to win it. But it's one of those. Yeah, it is quite hard to tell. It'll be a hard hitting match regardless, and I think there's so much potential great matches on NXT for Joe. You know, there's a lot of guys there that weren't there when he was there first time round. You've got Joe Dunn, would be brilliant. If Cole does stick around, Joe Cole, not the footballer, but you know, there's so much potential. I mean, Samoa Joe's just class in general, you know. So I think there is a lot of potential good matches there. Again, I think they just didn't know what to do with him on the main roster. I think it's kind of criminal he didn't get a main title run at some point, and that ship is well and truly sailed now, I think. So I think it's just kind of the same as Finn Balor. They've put him back down. He'll probably get a title run. And I guess how old he must be. How old is Joe, actually?
He's in his older. He's in his 40s, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's been about for quite a while,
I don't think he'll be wrestling full-time that much longer, you know. So again, maybe he was all schedule dependent, you know. Again, maybe he's wanting to down tools a little bit. So moving to NXT, you're not on the road as much and stuff. So
I suppose
anything like that.
It could be a mix of, obviously he's doing commentary, so I'm assuming he's got a bit of interest in that. So maybe it is a case of, well, because I mean that whole situation with the contract thing seemed very, very weird. So maybe it is a case of actually I'll go and do NXT, but I want to do a bit of extra commentary, and I don't know how they build that in, because I don't really feel like it fits with like what he was doing previously and doing this at the same time. So it's probably lower level stuff commentary potentially might be doing. But yeah, it's a bit interesting with the whole Samoa Joe situation. But what's your take on the match, Kyle?
Yeah, the match will be good. You know, we've not seen Samoa Joe wrestle in a while. At least, you know, not in a sort of high profile match like this anyway. So he'll come out all guns blazing, I imagine. Hopefully he's not, you know, not going to get blown up after like 5 minutes. But yeah, I imagine the match will be good. Again, it'll just be hard hitting, you know. It'll be interesting to see how they do this card, right? Because you're going to have Walter Ilya, you're going to have the 3 stages of hell, or whatever they want to call it, and then you're going to have this match, which are all going to be quite like brutal kind of matches.
Yeah.
Even when you look at like Raquel Gonzalez versus Dakota, you know, that's not going to be, you know, a light flippy match. You know what I mean? And LA Knight and Cameron Grimes will be fine. But like, it'll be interesting to see how they like split it all up, because at some point 2 of those matches are going to have to go back to back. So it'll be interesting to see how they lay that out. But yeah, I think the match will be good. Like Stu says, it's quite difficult to know what's going to happen with it, because if they're using Karrion Kross in the main roster, they can't keep the title on him for a while, especially not if he's losing to Jeff Hardy. You know, but do they want the title on Samoa Joe? That's what's really thrown me. Is, you know, if they put it, if it was him against, you know, Adam Cole or whatever, you'd be like, all right, cool, that kind of makes sense. Out with the whole contract stuff. So yeah, I think it's interesting to see what happens. It's one of those matches I don't really know what will happen. Like, it could go either way. But you'd expect Cross to lose the title. and for Joe to take it. Whether he holds it for a while or not, you can never know. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think like you say, this is probably a big match for me, but I mean, there's 4 matches on there. I would probably say the $1 Million Championship is not a main event, but the other 4 could be, like, arguably. They are that big. They are that big. But I did want to touch on this a wee bit more in depth in terms of Karrion Kross, because I genuinely don't understand the planning with this, and I really don't think it fits with the character of what they're building in NXT. But this whole going off to like a mid-card show and getting beat off, like you said, Kyle, Jeff Hardy, and then a few weeks later, like, beating him, and Keith Lee. I mean, even that situation, I don't find. I feel that's a bit weird, because I rate Keith Lee, like, massively. I think he's brilliant. But Stu, what do you think about this whole Karrion Kross situation? Do you think that the plan is for him to go up? But and again, your opinion might be different to mine, but I feel like if he does go up, then, like, what's the plan for him? Because he's already been beat. It's not going to be a big hit and entrance, is it?
Yeah, R.I.P. Sweet Prince if he goes up. But yeah, like, for me, Cross should have been like Owens coming in, when Cena was out and Owens turned up surprisingly, challenged Cena. That's how Cross should have entered the main roster. Not saying challenge Cena, but someone of that ilk, maybe like Randy Orton or something like that. I think. But yeah, just appearing on the card and losing to mid-carders is, I guess, punishment makes sense though. That does make sense, because yeah, someone like that should be turning up as a surprise for one, but in a big way, not just no, he lost to Jeff Hardy. But, and again, splitting them up from Scarlett makes sense, being a punishment since they are together in real life, and I guess WWE kind of like to keep their relationship people on different shows normally. Usually one of them's on Raw, one of them's on SmackDown, so I don't really know the reasons for that. But yeah, I think if they were going to do that to him, he needs to change his music and entrance. Full stop. It seems it's so stupid him coming out to the same entrance and he's just kind of walking down himself. And yeah, I don't know. It's already got the sour taste of this is going to be another guy that moves up and we forget about him in a few months' time.
Yeah, and I think that's the worry for me is, and I said this a wee while back, but like, I kind of watch his entrance, and when I watch it, I'm sometimes like in awe, but I'm in awe not because of how good looking Scarlett is, but just like just the balance between the two. Do you know how it's like she kind of comes out, does the walk, then he's behind her, and then she does like the wee bit in the ring, and then he comes, and then like just the balance between the two, I think really works. So I think, like you say, Stu, if he's going to go into that environment on his own, I think you either commit him fully with a new kind of entrance music and not maybe a gimmick, but just change it a little bit from what he was doing before, which I personally wouldn't agree with, or you fully commit to what he was before, which is my preference. But what would you say, Kyle? What way would you go with that?
I mean, the one thing I've heard, right, and I don't know if you guys listen to the Jim Cornette stuff, right, but when he first was talking about him being sort of beaten by Jeff Hardy, and they were talking about how this kind of has Vince McMahon written all over it. And this was kind of, and it sounds like this was the way they were kind of going with it, was that it was as if they were going to have him get beat every week on his own, and then bring in Scarlett as like this like big thing, and that's the reason he wins and all this sort of stuff. Which one is stupid, but two makes sense. It's like something Derby would do. But I think potentially Jeff Hardy being out that week, he was meant to go against him again, sort of messed all that up. But like you said, it's a bit too late now to kind of go back to what he was doing in NXT and be that big mysterious monster and have him and Scarlett coming out, because he's already got beat. He needs to go off TV for a few months before he can come back and do that. Unless that's their plan, potentially, but knowing the way Derby are just now, they'll probably forget about him if they put him off TV for a while. But I don't know if they potentially put him on a run, he's, getting beat, whatever, and then, they keep him off TV up until like the Rumble or whatever, and later in the year, and then, he comes back as like this monster with Scarlett, throws everyone out, whatever. That's how I would do it anyway, but yeah, we'll see. If they're not going to do that, just change up his gimmick, just make him whatever, generic muscly guy number 4.
That's what he has got, the perfect build for what
does.
Vince likes as like a champion and stuff. So it's just bizarre, but I guess if you get on Vince's wrong side once, you never really get back past that, do you? So
Yeah, and I feel like I've said this throughout, and I probably will say it continued on. It's probably more down to my perception of WWE, but I just don't understand what's next. I feel like it's probably because WWE don't understand what's next the way they've been going recently. But yeah, like you say, if the plan is Samoa Joe takes the title, Karrion Kross drops the title and goes on the main card, I feel like he's the type of person that I feel like he needs to come in with a bit of a bang, like go on a winning streak, and they've already chucked that away. So what do you do with him? And if he keeps the title, Samoa Joe just comes back again with like just a pebble drop almost, like. And I feel like again it's like, where does Samoa Joe go after that if he's lost to the best person there when he's actually a main card person, like wrestler who's been there before? So I feel like it's, I don't know, maybe a bit of lack of planning. Maybe it is a bit of a plan. I don't know. I'm hoping there's a plan there, but I have no idea.
I think they just spin a tombola sometimes with the two names in, and whoever there you go, you've won.
It's like on Derby 2K. Simulate the match. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that we've spoke about is we're not sure that all the matches are scheduled. Do you think for NXT, do you think that's it? Do you think there's 5 matches and that's it, Stu? Or do you think there's any more to be put in there?
I think so. They could have had the North American title with Swift and Phantasma guy, but they're obviously leaving that for later down. This is a good chance for me to say I cannot stand Hit Row. Oh my god, it is awful gimmick. Just the words on the music when it's like Hit Row, like makes my toes curl, honestly. Like, and just even the other two guy. I mean, I don't really like Swift too. I mean, he's good at being a heel, but I don't really know what they're doing with that because they're both kind of heel factions as well. So it seems a bit daft. Like nobody really seems. Not that you have to have a face and a heel every time, but I just don't like that faction at all. Like the other two guys, they're all right in the ring and that, but on the mic as well, they're terrible. It's maybe just me, but I just one rant off, so I finally got a rant in. But
Still makes me crease that you say Mick instead of Mike, mate. And Kyle, do you see any other matches being made, or?
I think so. We'll obviously get onto the SummerSlam stuff when we talk about that, but I think NXT is solid. It's in there. The thing about NXT is, right, they do what the WWE like main roster should do, and they should have matches that should be on a pay-per-view, but they leave it off. But obviously, WWE main doesn't do that. But yeah, I think there's matches that they could have had, but yeah, I think they'll keep it at 5, keep it short and sweet, and you won't get bored during it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a very good card, isn't it? I mean, I don't really like LA Knight and the Cameron Grimes match massively, but I get it. But the other 4 are massive matches, like you say, so I think that'd be a really good card. So I'm looking forward to that one in the Sunday night, which will be unusual. So what we'll do now is we're going to take a short break, just for a couple of minutes. When we come back, we will be on to SummerSlam. Now, I said this the last time when Kyle and Stu were on. This will be on different platforms, and now it actually will be on different platforms because I've managed to do it. So if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe, comment, do all that sort of stuff. I'm not used to YouTube chat yet. I'll work on it. You can also listen to it on Spotify. If you are listening to Spotify, we film this live on Twitch. It's where we film all the podcasts. Amazon, I'm not quite there yet with Amazon. We'll work on that. Or Apple. We'll work on that. We're almost there though. But when we come back, we will be looking at the SummerSlam show, going through the match card, giving our opinions on that. And as I said at the start, please do get involved. Let us know what your thoughts are on each match, who you think will win each match. And if you've got any other thoughts about WWE in general, then please do let us know in the chat. But please stick around. We'll take a short break and we'll be back. All right? Thank you. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for sticking around. Appreciate it. So we're on to the SummerSlam section of the show. We are joined by Kyle and Stu, and we're going to go through the match card for SummerSlam. Again, another very, very good card. A lot of titles on this card, and we will start off with Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. Now, this one has had quite a long build-up, to be honest. To be honest, I feel like I probably wasn't watching wrestling when they originally started, but they were part of a group. I think it was Drew, Jinder, and the guy that had that kid's gimmick. What was his name again?
Heath Slater.
That was on. Heath Slater. So obviously they've had a bit of pass together as well, which obviously helps a storyline when there's a long distance past. But Jinder's obviously got sort of what's the two guys that he's got? It's kind of new, aren't they? The two guys that he's got. I can't remember their names though. Anyone remember? No.
Yes.
They're very new. Yeah, so it's obviously brought an interesting storyline. Drew's brought his sword into the storyline a lot more, which has been pretty cool as well. But what do you think of this one, Kyle? Where do you think this one goes? Who do you think wins the match?
I mean, it'll be an interesting match, I guess, with their history and stuff. I think it was one that when Drew came back, it was one that they spoke about online a lot, was having this match, because they both had that sort of resurgence when they got released and came back. So I guess for that it'll be good. I think the last year or so has just ruined Drew McIntyre for me. Like, I'm not excited to watch him anymore. They've really just dampened it. I mean, watching him and Bobby Lashley every 2 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Kind of ruined that. But I mean, it'll be a decent match. There's a part of me that would hope Drew would win, and hopefully they would start to build him back up. But I don't know, to be honest. It is, like you said, they don't know where they're going to go with this sort of stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah. And Stu, what do you think of Drew versus Jinder? Just quickly, actually, I've got a question from Gabe saying, why is pay-per-view on a Saturday? Kyle said it's down to Las Vegas wanting the match to be on a Saturday, and then obviously they've moved the NXT to this Sunday, is what we believe. But yeah, I wasn't sure, to be honest, and I don't think Stu was sure, but that's what Kyle said. It's down to Las Vegas is what they want, which is not it's not surprising with WWE. They seem to be like, if you'll give us money, we'll do what you want.
I think as well with it, Vegas is a notoriously bad market for WWE. They always struggle to sell stuff out in Vegas. But again, I would assume that's because they do stuff on Sundays, when I'm imagining, I've never been to Vegas myself, but I'm imagining Sunday nights aren't their busiest night compared to their Saturdays and Fridays.
That's a good point.
And they're on a big stadium, aren't they? So
yeah, they've got NFL there now as well. So
yeah,
the preseason started, so maybe there is a game there on the Sunday as well, potentially.
Because actually, is that again? I'm not big into NFL, but do they usually play on a Sunday, Stu? Is that why?
Yeah, but preseason's over 3-4 nights preseason games. So
right, okay. So I
can tell you, being to Vegas, Sunday is not a quiet night.
No.
every day feels like a Saturday or a Sunday in Vegas. So yeah, you kind of lose track of what day it is when you're there. But
so give us your take on this match, Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal.
Here's my second rant coming.
Pending.
Jinder Mahal just does not do it for me. I would have had him in my release list, to be honest, and especially the two sidekicks he's got as well. I'm just no interest in them either. One of them was supposed to be in a big tag team in NXT, but one of them spoiled something on Twitter, and I think he got the heave-ho because of that. So,
Wow.
So they've just kind of kept the other one, and this kind of seems the perfect fit for him, I guess. But I just really don't rate Jinder at all. I think even ever since his title reign, I've just been and he seemed to have disappeared for a good year or two as well, and he's just kind of came back. I mean, the storyline does make sense, though, don't get me wrong, but so I quite happily see Jinder get squashed. It's probably not going to happen quite like that, but Drew's surely going to get the win there. I would also mark out really hard if Heath Slater somehow shows up, but
what you reckon?
Probably unlikely. I don't even know what he's doing these days. Is he still on Impact's roster, or is he?
Did he not get signed with? He got signed with somebody, didn't he?
Probably just cutting him at the indies, is he, or doing
Probably.
appearances, and could have had him as ref. That would have been nice.
That's true. Maybe one night appearance.
But yeah, that would be cool, but it's probably not going to happen.
Was it a Jinder not? Was he injured for the year he was out though, wasn't he?
Potentially, maybe. Potentially.
Yeah, I'm sure he was injured. And that's why he missed the year.
Well, is this NXT India taking off, or are they giving up on that already, or?
I didn't know it was a thing, to be honest.
Well,
Well, I thought-
they just released that guy. Like one of the releases was that like the guy that was trained by Great Khali, who was like 7.5 feet or whatever, who we've never seen on TV before, but they released him. I'm assuming he must have just been terrible.
Well, if Great Khali was training him, then
Not a prestigious trainer there. Also,
Yeah.
just to go back, Jambo, sorry. So you said you weren't aware of 3MB. Is that right?
No, I was aware of them. I just couldn't remember what the boy's name was that was in it. I was aware of them. I just didn't. I don't think I watched wrestling as much when they were about. Because I've watched the videos of like when Drew went. I think they've done a lot of videos when Drew was maybe like becoming champion, looking back potentially. I just remember watching a bit of it, but I don't know. I just see when I seen it. I'm like, I don't think I watched much of it then. How long ago was that?
What, 5 years ago?
Was it about 5 years ago?
10, but
Somewhere in between, probably. I imagine.
we'll go 7.5.
So have you seen the WLC match that they had?
WLC.
It is the greatest match. Honestly, it is one of my favourite matches in WWE history ever, right? So it was 3MB. I don't know if all of them were in it, but it was 3MB and Hornswoggle, because Hornswoggle was a member of 3MB for a while.
Oh, really?
Against Los Matadores, which is obviously Epico and Primo, with the bull guy. What was his name again?
Oh,
I can't remember.
El Torito, right?
Yeah.
So it was them in like this big ladder match, but it was called WLC. So all the ladders were really small. All the ladders and tables were pure small. They had small people on commentary. So they had Jerry the King Smaller, Micro Cole, and I can't remember who the other one was. But it was all this like it was just hilarious. Right, it was on the pre-show of TLC. But it's genuinely really good. Like at one point, Drew McIntyre does like a dive over the top onto just a bunch of tables.
Yeah.
And just like kills himself on it. But yeah, I think that was one of the last things they did before they got released. But I would recommend it.
I need to give that a watch. I think we've got a wee bait. It's actually directed at Stu, but probably fit for both of you. I think he's having a wee joke about your team today, but we'll not talk about that because Man City got beat, Hearts got beat, so we'll swiftly move on for that Jam, mate. So the next match is the US Championship match between Sheamus and Damon Priest. Again, it's not a match I'm overly buzzing about if I'm being honest with you. I think it's one of the matches that fits probably in the card, but it is on the card. It makes sense, but I'm not massively buzzing. What's your thoughts on this match, Kyle?
Again, not really interested, to be honest. It's annoying because I love Sheamus as a person. Like, see, like his YouTube videos and stuff like that. Like, he's class, right? He's a good laugh. But see, when it comes to him actually wrestling, I'm like, I think the last decent thing he did was when he was with Cesaro. Like, him as a singles wrestler, not a fan. I do like Damon Priest though. Like, Damon Priest is good. So hopefully Damon Priest wins the title. And Sheamus goes off into retirement or whatever. He's getting there. But we'll see. I think it'll be an all right match. But it's, if you look at the card, it's definitely one that if I was picking a match to go to the toilet during, it'd probably be one of them.
Who's your winner for that one, Damon Priest?
I'm just wishfully thinking, Damon Priest.
Yeah, wishful thinking. And Stu, what's your take on this match, mate?
Yeah, I think Damien Priest, one guy that's grown on me a lot as well. Like when he first joined NXT, I wasn't overly keen on him, but I think he's another one that's vastly improved over the last year or so. I'm just finally glad they're moving him on from The Miz because that's obviously been churning on since the last time we had a podcast. So, although do you think there's any potential that more people get added to this match? Because there has been all this stuff with Morrison, Miz, Ricochet. I hope not, but usually at these big events there tends to be a multi-match for like the Intercontinental or the US title.
Oh, you You did have was it not in the last? To be fair, I didn't watch Friday's SmackDown, but was it not the last show Miz got up at the wheelchair and like sprinted off? So pretty much shown
Yeah,
he's not injured. So potentially,
yeah. So I think Priest will win. I mean, yeah, Sheamus as well. He's had his course, and I think was it Drew he had a good street fight match with potentially during COVID. He did have a good street fight match, I remember.
I think
But
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, apart from that, there's not been much memorable single matches from him during this run. That's for sure. Yeah, I think they need to move the belt on for sure, and someone like Priest be kind of an ideal fit. I think.
See the whole sort of mask thing that he's doing just now as well. Is that genuine right now, or is that just like part of a story that they're trying to build? Do you reckon?
I think he broke his nose. Did the last guy he was feuding with broke his nose? I think.
Yeah.
Humberto Carrillo was it? I think.
Yeah.
I do think it was genuine at the start, but I mean, there's a couple. It's not like one of the matches he ended up the opponent took it off him, and I'm just like, is this like a thing that they're trying to build it into the storyline? But I'm almost like, is it done now, or is it a thing, or
Yeah.
Joey is
Yeah.
like, I'm not sure what's going on.
I think it probably is a genuine injury, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah, that's aye. But it's. Do you think, Kyle? You mentioned there about obviously Sheamus's obviously individual stuff that he does. Do you think that if he was more like his own personality, he would be more of a sort of fan favourite and pushed a bit more, or do you think that his sort of persona in WWE holds him back a bit?
I mean, I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, it makes sense because he is just, a lad. Like, he'll have a laugh. Do you know what I mean? Like, even like when you see fan interactions with him, like in public, like if they bump into him and stuff, he just has a laugh. Whereas he does this whole like, oh, I'm a tough Irish fighter sort of thing, which cool, right? I get it, but I feel like gimmicks they're not really a thing anymore. Like, it's all about your personality, and I get that 9 times out of 10 it's a personality ramped up to like 11, but
Yeah.
anything like that, unless it's like a big like proper gimmick, like like the Fiend and all that sort of stuff, like if you're not just yourself, it kind of feels a bit weird. And I think when he came back with like the bowler hat and all that, I was like, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched some of his videos where he does like, do you know, I don't know if it's his videos, but like the training videos where it's like him and other people and stuff. And I didn't actually think about it until you said it there, but he actually does come across very well in these sort of things. And I personally don't like his whole gimmick of like the whole tough man stuff. I probably think he'd be better, like you're saying, is a bit more close to what he is actually as an individual and a bit more bubbly and just like jokes and bounces off people. But that's kind of what puts me off him. Do you agree, Stu, or do you like the kind of gimmick he's got now?
Yeah, gimmick I couldn't care too much for, to be honest. He's really good mates with Triple H, though, which probably helps him stay around and be relevant a bit more than it would other people, Yeah, I don't really enjoy the gimmick or really care too much for it, I must admit.
Excellent. So we'll move on from that match on to, again, another one that they are trying to build up as a sort of longer feud. I've seen a couple of videos from Edge versus Seth Rollins, and they've shown a few clips from a while back from sort of a sort of feud back then. Again, Edge was sort of came back and he was a sort of main event sort of wrestler. So I don't know if this is them trying to sort of find a place in the card for Edge, but Stu, what do you think? What do you think of Edge versus Seth Rollins? Who's your winner for this match?
Tough one to call. Both guys have obviously lost quite a few pay-per-view matches this year. I mean, Edge probably obviously was going to lose the title matches to Reigns, but yeah, I don't know. I think Seth will probably get the win though, and it's one they might carry on longer term as well. Yeah, it'll be a good match. It'll be a really good match. I obviously said on the WrestleMania one I was hoping it was going to be Reigns Rollins, but I still think that is potentially Royal Rumble now. Maybe we'll probably do the Royal Rumble one of this, and I bet WrestleMania will be Rollins Reigns. But I'll keep saying it till it happens. But yeah, I think Rollins will get the win, but I think Edge is the kind of guy who is happy enough, to come back and just put people over, I don't think, like, he just loves wrestling. He's not too fussed about getting a title belt or that. I think he's just happy and enjoying being back in the ring, doing something he loves.
Do you not think Seth Rollins has been a bit up and down lately? So, like, for Edge, if he loses this, again, I think about where does he go. But Seth Rollins is almost a bit up and down just now, so it would fit more with like what they've been doing with him. In my view, I don't know. I just question where Edge goes if he loses. But with Seth Rollins, he is, for me, feels like he's a bit more kind of fluctuating just now, and he could end up peaking a bit like coming up soon. But I don't know. It's a tough one to call. I think. Kyle, what's your take on the match?
I'll be quite honest. Not really interested in Edge. Like, anyway, like it's kind of falls into like the Sheamus stuff. Like, I love Edge as like a person, like his sound and all that. But I never understood it. Like, see, growing up, he was never like a big guy to me. Like, I never thought when he was like feuding with John Cena and stuff, I never saw him as like a big deal. I don't know why, but that's kind of stuck. So yeah, it was cool when he came back and all that stuff because he obviously was injured and that. It was cool, but now I'm not really that interested in his matches. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think the feud itself's been really good. The whole kind of they're kind of pushing it as like Seth Rollins is like the modern day Edge kind of thing. Like he's the sort of rated R superstar sort of thing. So I think that'll be interesting to say the least. But I think the match itself will be all right. With it being in front of a crowd, that makes it different as well. Because I think if this was just like your standard like small show, but in a big arena or big stadium even, it'll be good. So I think Seth Rollins will win, and it'll be an all right match. I don't think it'll be a barn burner.
You've both said there that Seth will win. So if Seth does win, where do you see Edge fitting into? Like Stu was saying, Kyle, do you believe that he will be a mid-card and put people over, or do you see him above that, Kyle?
I mean, I can see him just being, one of those guys that kind of comes in every so often for the big match, when someone's needed. So coming in for like your sort of SummerSlams, Rumbles, Manias, like doing the run-up into those sort of shows and stuff like that. So, I mean, I imagine that's probably, it's pretty much what he's doing now. Like, he's not necessarily, working every week and stuff like that. I know he's had a few matches on Smackdown and stuff. But I think, he'll probably end up, hopefully anyway, being just, there sporadically. And like Stu said, kind of just putting over the younger guys. I mean, that's how it's meant to work, but with RB, you never know.
This is probably a good time, and I don't keep up to date too much with AEW, but I did see that Christian, and I think Stu, you touched on it earlier on, won the Impact belt. Although I did see he had 2 belts on him, which I didn't really understand. I don't know if Impact have 2 belts for one or something like that. Is that a situation?
Yeah.
Or is that how it is?
Yeah. So they've got the old TNA title,
right, okay.
and they've got the Impact title.
Right. Okay.
But then they brought back the TNA title. It was a whole thing. Like it was stupid. I don't know why they've still got 2 belts. It was part of a storyline. I'm pretty sure like Moose or something was cutting about with the old TNA title, saying he was like the real champion in another match and all that stuff. But yeah, he's the Impact title champion.
Because I seen a photo the other day and I was like, I seen they had 2 titles. Like, this is weird in itself, and they were saying he was the number 1 for AEW. But just sort of relating this back to that match. And obviously Edge and Christian have got previous together, but also a similar sort of career path in terms of came back for injury, but Christian's went off to AEW and now got this. Do you think that will impact? And again, Edge might be too professional to do this, but do you think Edge will be thinking actually Christian is now like a champion and I'm not? Do you think that will impact how he thinks, and then in the future will impact where he sits on WWE, or what do you think, Stu?
Nah, I don't think so at all. Again, I don't watch AEW that much, but I don't think they're really building Christian as a proper star anyway, even though he's won this title. I think he'll either going to go down a title for title route, obviously, all out, and he'll probably lose. So I think it is just, here's the belt for a few weeks, sort of. Maybe he's not thank you to, I don't know. But yeah, I think he's happy enough just chilling. He'll be happy enough chilling mid-card after this feud, Christian. He's not. I don't think he's full time, is he? I think he lives in Florida, does he not, as well? So it's probably handiness for him more than anything.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think so. Like, I could never see Edge go to AEW for one. And yeah, I don't know. He's probably on more money still as well than what Christian will be. But
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Kyle? Do you see that impact on him at all, or am I plucking something out there here?
I don't think so. I think Edge, like for him, I think this run, it's kind of like Goldberg, isn't it? When he came back, like his kids are kind of growing up a wee bit, so they're actually getting to see him wrestle and all that sort of stuff. And it's probably just one of those things. He wants to do it. He's happy to be there. Like he's making a good amount of money. And we know Edge obviously has been doing the acting stuff as well, so you can go back to that. So I don't think he's too worried about like where he is within the company and all that. I think he's just happy to be doing it again, that he's allowed to. So yeah, I don't see him being the drama queen like Lesnar or something might be about not having a title.
Excellent. So let's come on to the next match, which is the SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belaire versus Sasha Banks. So correct me if I'm wrong, but Sasha Banks was out for quite a while. Was it injury or?
Not sure.
I feel like
she was just off screen or.
Yeah, she's definitely not been there for a while, but I can't remember why.
Yeah, she was definitely out for a wee while, and then obviously came back and has now got this feud with Bianca Belaire. Kyle, give us your take on this match and who you think it's going to win, mate?
It's going to be a good match. Like these two will tear it up again. Well, it's one of those matches like Bianca's class, Sasha's class as well. So it'll be a good match. In terms of who wins, I mean, I'm hoping Bianca wins. I don't really want to see Sasha as champion again. Like, it's not really something that interests me. I think they're better off with like that sort of newer breed of sort of women on the roster, because you've had obviously like your Baileys, your Charlottes, your Sashas, Becky's, like they've always been kind of like that big deal. But I think they don't need titles. Like they can be standalone, like they can go into feuds with people and they'll still be a big deal, whereas like the Biancas and that need that to kind of build off of. So hopefully Bianca retains and moves on to whatever. It'd be nice if like she got into like a feud with like a returning Becky or something like that. Like it'd be quite interesting, but we'll kind of see where it goes. But yeah, I think in the stadium again, like the Mania match, this will be quality. You always get that big pop from Bianca doing the hair whip. Which always gets the crowd going, unless it's that music festival that they did SmackDown from, where they would have rather been anywhere else. But yeah, it'll be good.
And what's your take on this match, Stu?
Yeah, it's going to be a good match. We obviously touched upon the women's division earlier about saying like how like big and stuff it is, but for me, I just feel like they rotate the same people fighting for the belt. It's always the same 4 or 5 people. But again, is there really someone below that? There's a lot of mid-carders, but I think making that jump from mid to the main event and the women's is a lot harder, mainly because the women's match on the pay-per-view tends to just be for titles and that's it. You rarely see a women's match of a feud just happening out with a title, I don't know if they need to try and maybe do that a bit more. I couldn't even think of the last match without a belt between 2 women on a pay-per-view. Maybe it's not as far back as I actually think, but there's always men's matches. It's the same with the tag division, though. I guess there's never really any without the titles. There's never really any other matches. It's just the males division dominates it in terms of that. But yeah, I mean Becky coming back would be good. Hopefully, we'll see that soon. But yeah, I do just feel like we see the same matches. Like it was Asuka, Charlotte. Now Rhea's been plucked in there, and then SmackDown side it was Sasha and Bayley for eternity as well. So I just think it needs a bit of new blood, but it will be a good match. So I'm not complaining really.
And who do you think takes the match, Stu?
I think Bianca's got to retain. Yeah.
I suppose Sasha's just sort of backy, so I don't know if she's had any matches building up to this, but even if she loses, there's still, like you said, Kyle, there's still potential for Sasha to go on and do so much more because, I mean, you touched on this earlier on, but the women's division is so strong just now, isn't it? There's so many good wrestlers up there that I think for this one, like it's probably less about a storyline and more about just a very, very good match, isn't it? Like they're both really, really good wrestlers, and I think technically it'll be a very good match, but I think, like you say, Bianca's obviously came up and probably needs that belt a bit more, where Sasha's got a bit more stock about her and could probably get about without that title. So yeah, totally agree with what you're saying there. But yeah, I think from my point of view, it's probably a good match for Bianca to increase her stock. So for me, I probably think Bianca takes that, and Sasha goes on to feud with someone else. To be honest, we'll move on to the next match, which is the Smackdown Tag Team Championships. Which again, it's another one that's kind of built up for quite a bit of time. The Usos versus Rey and Dominic Mysterio, and the sort of belts jumped about a bit between the two, hasn't it? And again, it's into, I believe, the third match, if I'm not wrong. I know the Mysterios held it for a bit, and it's back to the Usos, and then I think this is the third match. I could be wrong. Could even be more than that, to be honest. I think they've had a lot of individual matches in there as well. But Stu, what's your take on this match, mate?
Again, what I said about the women's, I find the tag teams, it seems to be the same, 2 or 3 teams there or thereabouts, and I've lost interest massively in the WWE tag division, to be honest. I feel like there's too many thrown together teams as well, but these two aren't so much, I guess, thrown together, but I don't know, I just feel like it's the same loop of teams that are always there. New Day's won it countless times, Usos, who are very good, but I don't really care too much for Dominic Mysterio, so that's probably not adding too much to it. I think Rey's had his day as well, so yeah, I don't know. I think Usos will retain unless they're ever going to go down the route of them two splitting and feuding. I don't know. I think they've teased it. I thought that was going to happen with the whole Reigns thing, because one of them was kind of on Reigns' side and the other wasn't as such. I thought they were maybe going to go down that route then, but obviously they ended up with the tag titles, so yeah, it'll be a solid enough match, but it could be a potential toilet break one, like Kyle was saying earlier, the Sheamus one. So yeah,
I think. Do you know what I liked about the Rey and Dominic thing? It's like I think they were the very first ever like dad and son winning the title together, which I think's nice. But now that that's been done and they've lost it, I'm like the whole that whole situation being like a thing is almost like been done and they've lost it now. So like to win it twice would just be like, I don't really see the point in it. So I'm also a bit interested in like where the Usos go after this with the whole Reigns situation. But Kyle, what's your take on this match? Who do you think's gonna take the titles here?
I mean, like Stu said, like it's one of those matches. Like we've seen it so much at this point. Like it'll be good. It'll be a good match. Like technically it'll be good because it's the Usos, and Rey Mysterio is solid, and Dominic's all right. So it'll be a fun match to watch. But in terms of importance and interest in it, it's kind of low. I think as well, like you mentioned, obviously the father-son stuff, which I think is funny because I don't know how many other father-son teams exist where like the dad comes out with getting a piggyback from his son. So again, we'll see how that goes. But I can see them potentially putting the titles on Rey and Dominic just to pop the crowd a wee bit and have Rey win the title and all that. I don't even know how interested the crowd would be in that, but yeah, I think logically the Usos will retain and just keep going until some sort of newer tag team comes to kind of get that title. In reality, they should have got rid of Jimmy Uso when he got arrested again because he's a piece of shit. But if they're going with them, I think they'll just stick with them because they're solid. They know what they're doing, and they'll put on good matches. So that is what it is, and they've got that link to Roman Reigns, so they're linked into the main event sort of stuff. So
yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to touch on. It's like the whole sort of him, Roman Reigns, and they two situation. Then it was like one of them obviously came back and wasn't going to fall in line, and I thought that was going to become a storyline, but it just seems like I don't know if you agree, but it seems like a wasted opportunity. But it also could be more of a right, we're going to build it up to more of a right, they're going to be fall in line and then fall out of line almost. But I don't know, I felt like there was something was going to come out of that, and I felt like it didn't. So do you see something coming of that, or do you think that was just the whole build and the fall in line situation?
Potentially, I mean, I think what happened was, they saw this potential storyline, started to kind of tease it, and then realised that they had a stadium to sell out for SummerSlam, and thought actually maybe John Cena's a better option. So I don't know. I think they could always go back to it. And like I said, when they lose the titles, that could potentially be part of it as well. Like, say for example, like Jay costs them the match, and then Reigns goes, "Oh, you guys are letting the family down." Like, it's just, and then it turns on that one guy going. There's so many ways they could do it. But yeah, I think there's potential for that to happen down the line. I just don't ever see it being like a SummerSlam, WrestleMania kind of main event sort of thing. Which Roman's always going to be in that spot. So if the match has to be at that level.
Yeah. What about you, Stu, mate?
Yeah, like I said, just a couple of minutes ago, I thought they were going down that route where it was going to be Uso versus Uso at some point, and then they went and won the titles and they've stayed together. So yeah, I don't know if it was one of those. They've just kind of started with it and kind of half forgot about it, and people won't realize. But yeah, I don't know.
Or they just wanted to they might have just wanted to make sure that Jay was on the road with Jimmy to drive him places. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, when you talk about all these cuts and that as well, and they're hanging on to a criminal, it's a bit.
It wouldn't be so bad if it was his first time. Like, fair enough. Like, even then, like, drink driving. Like, I know we all have different opinions and stuff, but it's a piece of shit. But like, it's not the first time he's done it. Like, surely he just must be an idiot, man. Like, you're gonna get caught. It's gonna be everywhere. Like,
Oh yeah.
He must. The Samoans must have some pull within Derby if he's not been released. Like, because they've released people for a lot less before.
Yeah, definitely.
Was he not on like the show like about 2 days after it happened as well?
They won the belts like the next week or something. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. There you go. There's a reward for it.
I did find that a bit interesting. So what we'll do now is we will, before we get on to like the WWE Championship Women's and Universal, I want to take a look at any matches that we don't think has been scheduled yet. Obviously, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, about 7 or 8 matches there that have been scheduled already. Do we think that's full card? Because I mean, me and Stu have been talking previously, and we think there's potentially at least one more. But we'll start off with Kyle. Do you think you can see any more matches on this card?
I'd imagine they'd have Corbin probably against Balor. I'd imagine that seems to be what they're building towards, isn't it? But I don't see that being like a main card match. That might just be something announced as like a pre-show match potentially.
Pre-show, yeah, that's a good point.
The only last one I could think of is potentially like Styles and Omos need to defend their titles. So I think it's probably likely it would be like Orton and Riddle that would be going for that. So those two could potentially be on the card, but hopefully not, because looking at that card, that's enough. That is even if it's a Saturday, that's enough for me. Yeah, those two I could see getting added on.
That's a good point, because me and Stu, we were talking about the Riddle and Orton situation, and me and Stu kind of probably had different opinions on this. I thought that it could be that they're building up towards Riddle and Orton being a match against each other, but Stu is more of the opinion, you can obviously elaborate on this, that you think that they're potentially going to come back together and be a tag team and then potentially fight for the belts. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, it's got that feel about it that I think Riddle will probably face either AJ or Omos tomorrow on Raw, and they'll probably beat the crap out of him, and Orton will make the save, and then obviously he RKO'd him at the end of the show, but that's just Orton, he's not really a heel or a face, he's just Randy Orton, does what he wants, sort of thing. But I think going back to the tag titles as well, I think the crowd will care for that as well if those two win the tag titles. I think that's definitely got some traction to it. I just think, it's just got that. We've seen that storyline loads before. Two guys will just get together, a bit of a feel good, and then they win the titles. So I think that's the likely route. It's weird that Intercontinental title's not, on the line. It's like technically your third belt. Is it still Apollo who's got that?
I feel like I've not seen it in ages.
Like, it's weird that technically your third belt is not being defended on one of your big pay-per-views. It's just strange to me. I mean, I don't really rate Apollo too much, but you think, they would have had something for him.
I was going to say, I'm kind of glad he's not on it, to be honest. I've not really enjoyed this whole new fake voice and stuff that he's putting on.
Yeah, it's just pretty bad that you don't have a vision for your Intercontinental title on a there should be a feud building up for that for sure. I think, but then you've got guys like Big E who's not on the card, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. There's a lot of guys. Not
apparently, it's King Nakamura that's Intercontinental Champion.
Oh, is it?
According to WWE.com.
Well, it's news to me. I'm guessing that was on the SmackDown then. I'm kind of for that. I kind of like that they've pushed that gimmick on.
He went on SmackDown.
He's been a bit. Just last night.
Aye.
Oh,
I don't like them. I've not watched.
Well, I guess they might have the rematch of that on the pre-show or something. Even though they're Intercontinental to actually not be on the pre-show, but I felt like they've rebuilt Nakamura quite well actually. He seems to be a bit more relevant again.
I like his the guitar guy. What's his name?
Yeah.
Can't remember his name. He's class.
Yeah.
Give me him over Elias any day.
See that guy? Is he like an actual like musician? Because I mean, he's built like a wrestler. So
he was on NXT.
I thought that, yeah.
Not necessarily doing this gimmick, but his gimmick was that he was like a rock star sort of thing.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, like he's legitimately like solid on the guitar. Like he's something. But he looks good. He looks like something Derby would love. So it might be something in the future once he drops those dungarees and dressed like he's Chucky.
Yeah.
McG in chat said, it's always that don't need to hear the accent. I'll make that a bit more PC. A bit Apollo dropped it on Friday and he said that everyone knows how to play guitar. I mean, I don't, so I fall out of that bracket you're putting out there, McG. I mean, I could play the strings, but I'll no sound very good, to be honest. So that's probably the matches that we probably were thinking, but I don't know, the Orton thing I'm a bit swayed on. I think the matches that are there just now probably are all main card ones, so potentially leaving it this late, you're probably right in what both of you have said there. If you're going to add a few matches there, arguably maybe not the best matches for a pre-show, but it looks that way. If they're going to be added, they're probably going to be pre-show, aren't they? Because I don't think they've announced pre-show, have they? Or do they normally announce them quite early, or?
Not normally. Yeah, sometimes they announce them like the morning of the show, so God knows. So
they've still got time to put a wee bit of build up into a couple of them, like the Orton thing and Riddle, or whether it's a tag team. One of the things I did
probably get something.
Anyway,
we'll probably get something random like Viking Raiders against Street Profits, so just
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
One of the things I did want to speak about was and I can't actually remember what they're called now, but I seen a video a while back which was, it wasn't too long ago, it was a year past when, is it Revival? No, I feel like it's not. The whole group that took over and they chainsawed like the Retribution, that was it, it's not Revival, Retribution. And I mean, that whole situation I feel like was just a shambles. Like, I mean, and now obviously we were talking about Apollo there, and that's what kind of remembered. Maybe the boy that's now like behind Apollo, you've got T-Bar and Mace that are doing their own thing now, and what was the girl that was quite big in NXT that was part of it? Mia. She's, I don't know what she's doing now, but it seems like they've all kind of gone like separate and kind of disbanded. But I generally was looking forward to that storyline so much, and I feel like it just like wittered away like into nothing, and they've all kind of gone away and done their separate things, which, I mean, some of them are doing all right, but I just don't feel like that storyline came to fruition as much as it could have. And I don't know what you think. I don't know if I think it was the best that it filtered out and they went into these sort of weird little groups, but I just feel like they could have done so much with that.
I mean, as soon as they named them, it was dead in the water. That whole story, fucking slap arse and all that, or whatever it's called. I don't know. Like, half the name, like it was like T-Bar and all that. Like, see if they just stuck to like, just don't name them. Like, just have Retribution member 1. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I know obviously with Nexus it was different because they all came from like that NXT show and we already had their names and all that stuff.
Yeah. But
like, you want something like, see if it's people who are just like there to like, you know, mess everything up. They're under masks. Like, don't name them. Like, look at what you know, Thing are doing. AEW with the Dark Order. Like, there's some of them, you know, they're like number 1 and like, you know, and number 10 and all that stuff. So like, you know, stuff like that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I think that, like you said, the story was all right. Like, this whole kind of, who's running it, and then obviously Mustafa Ali was involved and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it kind of whittled down a wee bit. So had they have dealt with it a bit better in the start, yeah, definitely it could have went a lot further. But yeah, I think it's better it kind of died out the way it did after how they treated it.
And that's one of the things, like, and again, I've not watched AEW as much to know about the Dark Order, but one of my favourite storylines, and you might be like, what you played at, thinking this is one of the best, but I used to watch TNA for a bit, and Aces and Eights was one of my favourite storylines that I've ever watched in wrestling, genuinely.
Yes.
And the whole mystery of who they are, and then like they obviously had big names doing it, but I mean you can make these people big names by doing the storyline, in my opinion. And to like reveal them so early and then just disband them, I just felt like it was a waste, because I mean the Aces and Eights storyline was like genuinely one of my favourite storylines, and the way they built it was amazing. Like they put the belt on people, they brought in other storylines where like the Brooke Hogan situation involved Sting, and I just feel like they could have made that such a big thing and given the people that was in that group a massive platform to go and kick on in WWE. But it just feels like they wasted the storyline very, very early, in my opinion, and then disbanded the group very early and then put them out into average kind of places where they're probably just going to filter out, if I'm honest, where they could have really kicked on, but I just feel like that was a proper wasted opportunity. What's your thoughts on it, Stu?
Yeah, I think they like dragged it out, and it wasn't really consistent. Like there was maybe like 1 week, then you wouldn't hear from them again for 2 or 3 weeks, and they'd appear again, which isn't always bad. But I just think it wasn't consistent enough. I think, and they tried to push. Did Mustafa Ali get? Because was he not supposed to be in a main title match at Mania or something, and he got either dropped out of it or he was injured.
I can't remember,
So
because he came in late, didn't he? It was like the group, and he kind of led the group, and I think that was kind of the turning point for me. Where it's like, if you're going to put Mustafa Ali in as the front person of this group, you've clearly not got much backing in this group.
Well, I think that was to kind of try and give him a big storyline, because I can't remember if he got injured or if he was just dropped out of it, but there was rumours think he was going to be in one of the main events. But
was it not? He was meant to be in Elimination Chamber the year that Kofi
that's it, yeah.
ended up going for the title and winning it.
Yeah,
and Kofi replaced him.
I think it was kind of like a apology about that potentially. So here's a big storyline, but I don't think people, as much as Mustafa Ali's good in the ring and stuff, I don't think his work. I'm going to say Mick here again. On the Mick is good and stuff. You know, he doesn't really have that big persona about him to be a leader of a faction, in my opinion. So I think people just didn't really care much for it. You know, I think he would work in a stable, but as the main head guy, not for me. You know, it just didn't really come across as a leader. That's my opinion, but I think it would have worked perfectly if it was someone like Undisputed Era that done it. You know, if they'd come in and done that, moved them up as a group, I think that would have worked amazingly. But obviously that didn't happen. So, but something like that would have been the perfect opportunity for them to move up to the main roster and stay as a group. But
I totally agree. Totally agree. I think Mustafa Ali, when I seen him getting put as like a head of that sort of group, that for me was just like, this is not a group that's going to go anywhere. But I think like you say, like for me, see the entrance that they made was like genuinely one of like the best entrances I've seen. The whole like cutting the ropes and writing like all this. Did they not write all over the boards and stuff? It was when the boards were all up all around the. It was during sort of COVID. I was like, this is like an amazing entrance, and you think they're just going to cause carnage on it, like similar to what Ace 8 said, and it just didn't go anywhere. Like, and I was just so surprised, like how good it started and how quickly it fell. And I don't know, like we've spoken about already, how much I feel the lack of planning's probably impacted the WWE, but that could be what it is. It could just be a lack of planning, how quickly they change with what they seem to be is the right thing, But I generally think that could have been something that really, really worked in WWE, and I generally don't think it hit as well as it could have.
Yeah, you need a big persona. You need someone like, I mean, I prefer Kevin Owens as a solo, but you need someone like that's gonna, you know, be a proper leader, like Adam Cole. Lost for other people at the minute, but yeah, you need someone that.
Even like a Sami Zayn would have been perfect for that storyline, like the whole. like anti-authority sort of
conspiracy
thing.
stuff as well. Yeah, like that would have fit in perfectly.
Yeah, just like somebody that's like very well known in like the main roster. It's like a bit of a bad guy, like, and he's taking on all these NXT or other kind of known people that aren't quite as known. He's going to try and bring them up. Like that's, I totally agree with what you're saying there. I feel like that would have worked very well. So let's get back to the SummerSlam card, and we've got 3 matches left, and we've got the WWE Championship match, the Raw Women's Championship, and the Universal Champions match. I'm very, very interested to hear your thoughts on this, because the whole 2 belts with part-timers, should we call them, situation. We'll start off with the WWE Championship, which is Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg. Again, if this was a standalone match without the other match being on the card, I don't know, I think it's good, but I also think that like the Goldberg matches in previous where he's done like with Lashley, I've been disappointed, but I don't know if I'm disappointed because of Lashley, if I'm honest. Sorry, Lesnar, not Lashley. I don't know if I'm disappointed because of Lesnar, but I don't know. I'm excited because it's Goldberg, but I'm also a bit like, we've got 2 part-timers going for the 2 main belts. So what's your opinion on this one, Kyle?
I mean, it's Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg. You know, it's not exactly anything to be too excited about. I think it'll be good to see Goldberg in front of like, a big crowd again, because obviously he didn't do Mania this year. So I think that'll be good, just to kind of see that. Hopefully, like, this is my issue, right? Is Goldberg's good if you keep his matches under 5 minutes, right? Don't do anything silly, right? If you need a match to take up half an hour on the show, spend 20 minutes doing entrances, right? But like it just needs to be short and sweet. Like, see, when he goes over 10 minutes, it gets messy, it gets bad. You get Undertaker versus Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. That's what you get there. So I think it's got the potential to be a decent match. You know, like if it is something like that, you know, like a quick match. The thing is, like, with these matches, you kind of always think Goldberg's automatically going to win. But the only issue is, I know that there was something about Goldberg's contract potentially doing 2 matches a year, and I think he's already done one this year, hasn't he? He showed up. So, I mean, does that mean he's going to win the title and then not show up till Rumble next year or whatever? Like, that's terrifying. But I don't want Lashley to be champion either, because he's pish. So I mean, there's no winning here, to be honest. But the match itself could be interesting if it's just them both going at it and just smashing each other for 5 minutes. But
5 minutes only, don't no more.
Exactly. But I think Lashley will win this one. I hope so anyway, because we can't have another Goldberg run at this stage. Like it's been done. Like, even then, like the only thing you could think about is if they're wanting to bring back Lesnar and they want to do that match again at Mania next year or whatever. But no one wants that at this point. Like we're done with that. So who knows what WWE think? But hopefully Bobby Lashley keeps the title, because if we do get Lesnar back, I'd prefer to see Lesnar versus Lashley. That's really that. But there's so many different options you can do with Lashley. But Goldberg's kind of a one-trick pony, isn't he?
Nah, I totally agree. I think, and that was, I maybe putting Lesnar and Goldberg in their own category. It's probably just Goldberg on his own, because I forgot they'd done like the Undertaker thing where they were all just like rapid matches. But I just feel like, and McGee said this is Lashley and Goldberg is a 2 minute match tops, but I feel like if you've not got a wrestler that can't commit to a decent match, then why are they even there? In my opinion, like I just don't see the point. McGee's also said spear, interfering, spear pin. That's how the match goes. He agrees with yourself, Kyle. He's also said if Lesnar comes back, I want him against Reigns, to be honest, instead of Lashley. But I probably agree with what you said there. I mean, it's nice to see Goldberg as thinking back to kind of the older wrestling, and you think Goldberg was such a massive name and that sort of stuff. But I think having Goldberg probably is almost a big enough match in itself, just having Goldberg on your card. But I think having him on your card against the WWE champion and doing that every single time he wrestles is probably too much for me. I think put him in there as maybe lead up to the main event, and you've got a massive lead up to your main event. I just don't think that you have to put him in that sort of situation every time he fights. But what's your take on this match, Stu, mate? And who do you think takes it?
Yeah, it's a wasted spot for me. Goldberg taking that, like you say, it's a name more than anything, and I'm just bored to death of it. Like, I probably quite liked Goldberg maybe 5-6 years ago, and now I'm just like bored off. Like, I just don't want to see it anymore, and we go back to all these cuts and stuff, and this is the kind of guys you should probably be cutting. He's probably on a ridiculous contract for showing up twice a year. It's not fair in my opinion. But yeah, it's not often a route for Bobby Lashley, but I hope Lashley does beat him. I think he will. I do think he will, but I don't know. Like, yeah, you just don't know. Like we've said many times already, but yeah, I'm not really. The entrance will be cool because we're gonna have a massive crowd and stuff. But yeah, just hopefully this is his last match, but it's probably not going to be.
Yeah, McGee in chat said Goldberg's like Goldberg's like beating a dead horse, and he said, "Who's next? Not Goldberg." But I think he's just a big name that you could probably throw in the card, and he would sell you tickets. But I like you said, Stu, mate, I think it probably is a wasted spot, and more so when you've got like, and we'll obviously come on to the John Cena match quite soon, but I personally don't see, I won't say too much just now, but I don't see John Cena being a full-time wrestler. So to have two of your main titles going against people that are not like full-timers, I would get it if you had them on two separate cards, like a couple months apart. I'd get that to sell tickets, but to have both of them on the same card, I just don't understand it, if I'm honest. I don't think it's fair on the people that are there working hard week in, week out, when some of them are very, very good and probably deserving that spot. I don't think it's completely fair.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry, in my opinion, that you're having two, because the part-timers in days gone by, like Taker shows up at Mania every year. It was very rarely for a title, so you're not really taking a spot that way as such. But
yeah, you're more just enjoying the match, aren't you? Like they're there and you're enjoying it, but when it's for a title, you're like you're ruining a potential storyline for somebody coming in where really it's either going to be they're going to win the title and lose it within about a month, or they're not going to win the match, which is a bit frustrating. But we'll come on to John Cena after the next match, which is the Raw Women's Championship match, which again will be. This is another one that's had like multiple matches, but Nikki Ash, almost a superhero. Kyle likes it. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. So obviously we've had a lot of matches between these three where we've had disqualifications, we've had people beating people, we've had Nikki Ash celebrating because she's not been beat within, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that against both of them, and and that's her big build up. And now obviously cashed in. She cashed in to win the belt, didn't she? That was right. Yes, she cashed in to win the belt, and now we've also got the triple threat between Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Nikki Ash, which is, I'm going to say this, and McGee's just said Nikki Ash is a legend in Scotland. Do you know what really frustrates me about Nikki? Is this whole like voice she puts on, and like, do you know how she's Scottish? I appreciate that, but the way she speaks is like, do you know when you're Scottish and you're speaking to like a person that doesn't speak Scottish? That's the way she speaks. It just annoys me. Like, just speak normal. But I get it. She's in America and she probably has to put on this voice. But I just feel like it's like, and McGee just said Drew does the same. But I feel like with her it stands out so much that I'm like, it just comes across like fake to me, and it just winds me up a wee bit. But Kyle, what's your take on this match? I'm assuming you quite like Nikki Ash.
I mean, the gimmick itself is what it is, but I think it's just cool to see, Nikki on SummerSlam, a big stadium in the title match, which is wild. I know there's been a lot of hate online for kind of this story because it's like, oh, it's a bit silly and all that sort of stuff, but it's what wrestling is. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at like I know the Hurricane, right, was never like a main eventer and like never going for titles and stuff like that, but like, it's a bit of fun. It's that sort of thing. Like, the whole point of wrestling is like you kind of take yourself out of reality for a bit. Like, it's not like you don't. It's not like you're watching UFC, right? And if she showed up in like UFC and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat, Amanda Nunes or whatever," you'd be like, "Right, okay, right, cool." But
How good would it be if
you
that
know,
happened though? Like somebody turned up like that and actually started weathering folk.
you don't know. But yeah, I think it's quite funny as well because it's obviously against Charlotte and Rhea, who are like these like sort of Amazonian women. You know what I mean? Like almost 6 foot tall, sort of built like brick shit house sort of things. Like they're gonna, throw her about. I'm assuming the way the match is going to go is she's just going to try and dodge them for like the whole kind of match, and then come in every so often and try and do a roll up and stuff like that, and it'll be quite good. But I think overall, I'm just happy to see her on the big show. Hopefully, she retains. 'Cause I think there's more to this like story of her, and you can eventually build it. But the only issue is your next obviously big shows like Mania, and you're not going to go that long with it. So would it be better for her to lose it on this big show? Maybe, but hopefully she retains. 'Cause I think that'd be quite interesting. Charlotte and Rhea have had enough title reigns at this point. Like, let them fight between themselves. But it's quite a good dynamic because like the real feud's obviously between like Charlotte and Rhea, but it's as if like while they've been fighting, she's just came in and went, "Yeah, I'll take that title," and like she's just like caught in it. So it's actually it's probably one of the more enjoyable parts of WWE just now. This whole story because it is quite fresh and like carefree rather than like you said, kind of Goldberg coming in and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the match will be alright. Hopefully Nikki retains.
Yeah, I think it's obviously like from us all being Scottish and looking forward to like seeing Scottish people do well. It's obviously good to see, and she was in like ICW and stuff, wasn't she? So like came a long way and stuff, which is pretty cool. But obviously a very different Nikki to today's. But from that point of view, it's good to see somebody from like near us and doing really well. But yeah, it's interesting to see how this whole persona will go. Like the almost a superhero, will they work that into like you say, like Hurricane, where they become like, oh, she's a superhero now, that kind of thing. Like there's obviously a bit of work because it's that whole persona's really still fresh, isn't it? So you almost take that title off and you kind of ruin that persona, don't you, in a way? So it'll be interesting to see if they kick on. Where do they take this storyline? And I feel like Charlotte, they need to find a place for Charlotte because like the amount of times she's won the belt's insane, but like it's almost like every single time she wins it, she loses it. She wins it, she loses it. Like where does she fit in a card when she's not got a belt? And I think that's where they need to find. And if the Rhea Ripley's not new but fairly new to the main card, and to be fair, a fantastic wrestler. But I think that whole division, like the women's division wrestling, so big just now. But Stu, give us your take on this match. Mate. What do you think's the outcome?
Rhea was in ICW for a bit as well, was she? So that's 2 ICW.
Oh, was she? I didn't realise that. I didn't realise.
Maybe she just popped. Maybe she did just show up for like a Fear and Loathing or something. But
yeah,
she's definitely fought in ICW anyway. Because I remember Sean, who was on last time, he's got like a photo with her and Garnish and stuff. So
okay.
I think it's like the Nikki Ash thing's a surprise element. We don't really get a lot of that in WWE these days. Normally you can tell who's going to win titles and who's going to make the jump up, etc. So I mean, I didn't even expect her to win Money in the Bank, and then when she won that, I was kind of like, okay, I don't think a woman has failed to cash in yet. So I was like, is that going to be she'll cash in and lose and be the first one? So I'm glad they put the title on her and she's not been the first one to fail to cash in on the women's side. But yeah, it's just good to have a surprise element now and again, and not just go with the obvious. Although I do think they're going to go with the obvious and give Charlotte another title win just to keep that number firing up as much as possible. So, but again, it's like what I said earlier about you saying about Charlotte having a place with like a title and that they don't really have matches for women on the main card, the main pay-per-views that aren't in the title matches, So
yeah, that's true.
That tends to be why we get the same people in the matches every sort of month, which it would be nice to just like Rhea and Charlotte could have easily just had a like beating each other's chests to say who's the better woman without even having the title there. You don't need it, but
that's true. It would be a good match just for they to fight each other just as a match, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The thing is, like, see with Charlotte, like, obviously Rick's just left RV. Her husband, are they married? I think they're married. Andrade's obviously over in
AEW.
And sort of doing stuff in Mexico. is she potentially eyeing up a move out of, WWE at some point? It kind of falls into the Adam Cole, Britt Baker sort of thing we're talking about earlier. Especially if they want to go away and have like a family or whatever, like it's going to pay for her then, not to be there. I mean, in reality, the smart thing to do would be to, have the family while she's in WWE so they can't release her and she still gets paid for that time while she's out, and then goes on the Indies. But she could go to AEW and be like probably one of the biggest people in the company. Like if she followed like her dad's sort of footsteps and did like the old Ric Flair promos and all that sort of stuff, she could be able to face that company. So it'll be interesting to see how WWE kind of treat her now that Rick's gone, because there must be a lot of pull for her to kind of go. Her head might be turned. So they might just put a title on her just to keep her sweet again.
That's actually a really good point, because I didn't think about that, and obviously we spoke about the releases at the start, and Ric Flair was one of them. But I mean, Ric Flair, they have all these people on like contracts, don't they? That you kind of like they're involved and they're not involved. And Ric Flair also had that weird situation a while back where he was kind of like not with Charlotte Flair. But that's probably a really good point, because Andrade's away, isn't he? I think was it AEW or
Yep.
He's away there. Ric Flair's obviously been released quite recently, isn't he? So he's probably not at the point where he can actually go to someone. So that could be another one that like follows like the Big Show. I think Mark Henry is both at AEW, might end up going there. And like you say, if both of them are at AEW and she's not, that might be a situation where she actually follows them potentially. I've never actually thought about that, but you've made a really good point there, mate.
Well, Ric Flair actually showed up last night at AAA on Triple Mania, because it was Andrade versus Kenny Omega for the AAA belt, and Ric Flair actually got involved. I've not seen any of it. I've just seen the reports this morning, but yeah, apparently he got physical as well. So I think that's him, cutting about. But I think he asked for his release and stuff like that as well. So I don't know if he's got like, because he wasn't on telly, I don't know if he's got like a 90-day or whatever. But he showed up on a big pay-per-view last night, so I don't think he cares. So we'll see.
And that's the thing with these kind of people, because you always get like I can't remember who it was, but one of them, they got it wrong and they forgot to change his contract, or I can't remember.
Aleister Black.
That was Black, and they forgot to change his contract. But it's always interesting with them, and even more so now that like a lot of the like Big Show, Mark Henry, and so they're not going to that sort of level, but like massive WWE guys that are going across to AEW, it kind of sets that path, doesn't it, for more of them to go. So Ric Flair could go, and like you say, I think that if Charlotte was to go across that path, she probably would be one of the big names across there, especially if you've got Ric Flair backing her almost, and having that sort of relationship between the two as an actual on-screen relationship would be pretty cool. McGee said that, let's be honest, it's a title match with Charlotte, so she's going to win it, but hopefully Becky Lynch runs it at the end and barks them all. And I'm kind of like, I'm like, when is Becky going to come back? Like, I really want Becky Lynch to come back. I just don't know when it's going to happen, but it must be soon, surely.
That would be brilliant, right? So obviously it's a triple threat, which means there's no DQ, which is silly. I'm not going to get into that rabbit hole, but there's no DQ, right? So in theory, Becky could run in mid-match, absolutely murk Charlotte, Andrea, and Nikki picks up the win and retains that way. Which could be fun. And especially in that big stadium. The pop for Becky's music hitting would be huge. So something like that, she could cost them the title, or maybe even just Charlotte. Like Rhea could be out of it, and then it's just Charlotte and Nikki, and then Becky costs her the title. You never know. So yeah, I've never thought about that. That would be quite good.
And I suppose that almost sets up, like Stu, you were saying, that there's not many sort of matches that are like not title matches. You could almost set that up as like, imagine like Charlotte Flair and Becky, where you've set that up in that scenario that you've said there, Kyle. You don't need a title to make that match bigger, don't you? It's a massive match in itself. So McGee saying the roof would absolutely erupt if Becky came out. I think yeah, I totally agree, mate. Totally agree. So let's move on to the last match of SummerSlam from what we know. It's the Universal Championship match between Roman Reigns and John Cena. Again, I feel like John Cena's probably committed to a 2-month contract. I generally don't know. I don't know. He's obviously very, very busy with his films and stuff, but I'm a bit disappointed in WWE that they've put two not full-time wrestlers or part-time wrestlers on as the two main sort of titles. And to be honest, it's probably down to this being like the first massive show that they've done after COVID, and they can get a big sort of stadium and try and fill it out. They're trying to make money out of it, but I just feel like doing this both in the one show doesn't really fit right with me. I think John Cena's probably, what is he, 2 away from the record, I think? Is that right? He's probably a couple away for the record, a 3 away for the most titles. So I mean, if they were going towards that, it potentially fits. But I just don't think it fits with the storyline just now of WWE, and I wouldn't personally like to see it. But we'll come to Stu first. What's your take on Roman Reigns versus John Cena for the Universal title, mate?
I'm not as disappointed at this part-timer showing up as Goldberg, that's for sure. I can't remember the last time we've seen Cena in action, but like Cena's probably been in the recent era. Cena's probably been one of my favourites, so I'm looking forward to actually seeing him back in the ring, seeing what he can do. Was it Bray Wyatt at last year's Mania, potentially last time we saw him? Could be as far back as that, maybe not.
Oh, that really weird match where it was like the whole weird film and
yeah, it could be that. But yeah, I think that'll be a good match. It kind of makes sense because Reigns has beaten a lot of people. You know, I obviously thought they were going to go towards Rollins Reigns, but I think it does make more sense for someone to come in for this match just because Reigns has been so dominant. And yeah, but it should be a good match. I can't see Cena winning. The only way I could see Cena winning is if Big E potentially cashes in, but I don't think it would make sense for him to cash in on Cena anyway. So it'd be good to see a cash in at SummerSlam in general, though. And again, Big E's not on the card, so there is potential there. Possibly, it's maybe too soon. I mean, to have both of them cashing in within a couple of months would probably be quite quick, but yeah, I think it does make a bit more sense, and I think Reigns will retain. Be a good match.
Yeah, what about yourself, Kyle, mate? What'd you take of this match?
I think it'll be a good one. Like the build's been quite good, the whole sort of back and forth, kind of on the mic, which has been good. I think the good thing about like part timers is that you don't get that same like, oh, they've wrestled each other like 5 times in the last 3 months sort of thing that you get with a lot of like the other feuds that they have, like when we talked about the sort of tag title match and stuff like that. Like, a lot of these matches get boring because, you know, they're there every week, they've wrestled on like main event or whatever, you know. So I think that side of it's really good. Like, we've wanted to see this match for a while. I think it'll be, you know, a good one. Again, with John Cena's movie stuff, like he's really kicking off just now. Like it's picking up, so I don't see him sticking around. So I can't really see him winning the title. But do they go with no title changes on the big 2 titles? Don't know. But like you said, that would be really cool if they have, you know, Cena win the title and then Big E cash in. What would be really good is if they did that on the Saturday and he cashed in on the Monday on Raw and they had a match, main event of Raw, with, you know, Big E versus that to draw rating. But who knows? I guess it could go either way. But I think it makes sense for Reigns to retain. I don't know who he's going to go against. I know they want to do him versus The Rock at some point down the line. I get that they'd want to do that at Mania, but it would make sense to save that for LA in 2 years' time rather than next year in Dallas. But then again, next year in Dallas, they've got 100,000 seater to fill, so we'll see. But yeah, I think Reigns' reign with that title is going to go on for a while.
I'm being an amateur streamer here. I forgot to turn off the notifications, so we've got 2 raids in there. So thank you, Cam and Muzza. I usually try and turn them off before I do the podcast so I can put the audio across straight over, but obviously forgot to do that. But thank you for the raids, boys. I appreciate it. I hope you are both doing well. So I think that match, I mean, John Cena's obviously fully committed to, what's he doing like every single show up till SummerSlam, and I don't know if it's many after that, but I think he committed to quite a lot of them. So he's obviously committed a lot more than most sort of part timers would, which is nice. But I just hope that if he is going to win it, he's there as committed for the next 3 months. Because I used to hate when you'd watch like Brock and he'd turn up every now and again. Like, I just don't like that as a WWE champion. But aye, so that is the full 2 cards. So let's jump back to our podcast view. So we've spoke through some of the released individuals in the wrestling so far. We've given our views on the NXT show, and we've also spoke through the SummerSlam show. What we'll potentially do, if I can get Kyle and Stu free and Sean, is we'll maybe do a review once it's done, which would be pretty cool. We'll see if we can get that done. Me and Stu will actually be watching it together. Me and Stu are meeting up next Saturday and going to be going for a few jars, probably more than a few jars, and be very, very drunk by the time we actually come to the show. So hopefully we'll be able to watch it. But McG said, "Oh, friends." So we'll be watching it through in Glasgow together, and then hopefully we'll be able to get a review show. But I think both of them also look like a good card. McG was saying about it's the how it's been flipped, the Saturday and Sunday for the NXT and the other show. But Kyle was saying earlier on, it's probably down to it being in Vegas. But I thank you for everyone joining us tonight. As I said earlier on, we are putting this onto YouTube, so any of the podcasts we'll do will flip straight over to YouTube. We are also putting it onto I get these mixed up. We'll be putting it onto Spotify, is the one we've got, and the other one, Amazon, Apple. I fucking definitely get them wrong. Apple. We're having a wee bit of an issue with, so we will get that sorted very, very soon. But we will get that sorted. I had an artwork issue with them. I feel like it was a...
It's stuck for me.
It's stuck?
Jambo's froze. There you go.
I froze my back? Oh, okay.
You're back in the room.
I don't know what's wrong.
I thought it was me. I was like, what's going on?
No, I don't know what... Do you know what I think it is? My Sky contract's coming near the end. I think they're chucking me some bad internet. So we will have it on the platforms very, very soon. But Kyle, do you want to do a wee bit of self-promo? Tell people about yourself. Tell people about your TikTok light that's coming up.
Well, that's the thing. TikTok seems to be the only place I do content. Like I told myself I'll be getting back into my streaming and my YouTube stuff, but it turns out, it's much easier to sit and do something on your phone than, go into a room and make a video on Premiere Pro. But yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm going to shout out is just my socials. Like, I mean, I'm Kyle Watt UK on everything. Ironically, apart from TikTok, where I'm Kyle Watt 3. But if you like a bunch of nonsense about wrestling, follow me there. If you want to see me moan about Aberdeen wrestling and other things, then Twitter's your place to go. But yeah, Kyle Watt UK on most stuff.
Excellent. Stu, most of these I know Stu from my streams and poker and stuff like that, but Stu, do a wee bit of self-promo, tell people where you can find you.
Yeah, so Stu Simmy on Twitch and Stu Simmy on Twitter, so pretty easy to find me as well. But yeah, I've been streaming not so consistently lately, but there is a big poker series coming up in a week, so I'll hopefully be doing quite a few streams during that and hopefully win some big bucks.
Hopefully Steve to win some money.
Similar to Kyle, if you want to see me moan about Aberdeen, then Twitter's the place.
Notice I've left that out purely because if Hearts won today, I would have been all over them, but Hearts didn't win today, and also Man City didn't win, so I'm absolutely not going to slag them off because I'll get twice as much back. Although Hearts lost to a fair team where Kyle made a good point earlier on. Hearts were expected to lose, Aberdeen maybe not so much, but we'll pass over that. But excellent, thank you for listening, everyone. As you know, we will have more sports content over the next few months, to be honest. We will be doing all different stuff related to football and wrestling. As I said, we'll probably do a review show and then maybe even a weekly thing potentially going forward where we just discuss the sort of weekly stuff. More to do with WWE, but to be honest, I would probably like to get to know AEW and TNA a wee bit more as well. So if I could, then that'd be good to almost do like a weekly review of sort of all three of the sort of big brands, which would be quite cool, and just do that maybe on a weekly basis. But thank you for everyone that's listened tonight.